my kittens, and welcome back to another little episode, Speed Paint with commentary. I am loving the way I'm recording these. By the way, if this is the first commentary video you have seen of mine, this is going to be posted before the original one I recorded for the first time, so that might be out of order. This is technically the second commentary video I recorded in this format, but it is the first one you are seeing. You can hear my thoughts on the commentary video when the second but first one comes out. Second for you, first for me. So, we'll see how that goes. But hi, welcome. So, today I wanted to show you a picture that I'm super duper proud of that is inspired by the latest season of My Hero Academia and actually the latest episode for this week. The sub version came to Crunchyroll on Saturday. So literally yesterday, I drew this picture in like 24 hours. This picture took me about 3 hours. It definitely took me a lot of time, but was totally worth it. So I was really inspired by the scene with Toga because she is one of my favorite characters, and I feel like her storyline has been building since the start of this season, and even a bit last season with the arc in like the villain village. I forget what the name of the village is. I am a hard MHA fan, but I also have a really bad memory, so I completely forgot. But I was so excited to see like more actual deep lore for her character because I feel like even though she's one of my favorite characters, at the start of the series, there wasn't a lot of like character development or growth for her. She was just kind of like my favorite because she was the quirky, like silly but cute, like murdery character, which I don't know why. I just like those types of characters. I'm a big Harley Quinn fan. You can just tell it's the type of characters I like. I just like that trope, I think, honestly, more than anything. Like that trope of this character being like cute but having so much trauma and like not knowing how to deal with it. But so with this picture, first I wanted to be very inspired by a manga style. So the line art brush I used here is a brush I've used before for line art, but not that I use often now because I like just like solid colored line art. But in a lot of like manga drawings, especially the MHA style, the line art is like black and kind of semi-transparent. So I wanted to go with that vibe. It allowed me to add like a lot of texture, and I felt like I was drawing physically, which last time I drew Toga, which you guys can find it on my Instagram if you're interested in looking at it. I drew it like in pencil, paper, and marker, and it was more in style of the anime than the manga. But I found these cool reference pictures, which you can kind of see me looking on and off, that are, I believe, from one. They're both from the manga, I believe, or I think one is from the manga and one is a redraw of the manga. I believe they're both from somewhere in like the manga and the chapters and everything. But yeah, so the line art was super inspired by like the reference pictures. I wanted to still have my own touch of style on it. I didn't want to just like trace the manga drawing, which I did not do. I actually didn't do that at all. You guys can see me doing the line art. Something I do say is I use bases kind of a lot. I never trace bases. I do not like tracing, but I use a lot of reference photos and bases just to figure out how things are supposed to be positioned. And it can definitely help your creative flow, but I think it also stops you from like learning poses on your own in some rights. So I try to do my own poses like more now and work more with like reference than base, if you know what I mean. Again, I don't trace bases, but I do think using them can at some points stunt your growth as an artist. So I think there's kind of a fine line between what you can and can't use them for. It's good to develop your own style, and I think using bases kind of limits you from doing that. I do have my own style, though, which is cool, and I like my style, even though it's ever changing, but it's great. So one thing I was super duper proud of with this drawing was the hair coloring. Which you can kind of see me like working on throughout the footage. I kind of went back and forth to it because once I completed the main section of the hair, I just was like tired of staring at this like blonde, yellow, like dirty blonde hair. It was just too much to stare at, so I had to do something else before I went and like did the line art and everything for the rest. But yeah, this hair was a lot of effort. I think the hair actually took up like the first probably I think half an hour of me drawing was the whole just like the way the hair was going to be positioned and like all the coloring for that. I used kind of like these soft brushes that have kind of like a taper to them for all my coloring because I don't know, I felt like it just gave that vibe. It kind of felt like when I first started drawing hair in like pencil, how I could like shade the different values together. And I wanted to get that same general like shading with the actual hair like you would see in the manga, how it's like shaded nice with like a gradient rather than I do a lot of cell shading, which you can even see on my model, is basically where it's like a darker color than the main color and it's just like there's no transition. It's just like a hard shade line, which I like for my art style, though there's definitely places where it works better than others. I like it for my art style, but for this manga art style, I needed something much smoother. And so that's kind of what I wanted to add here was a smoother transition. And so I did that, and then later down the line, as I go into the skin, which we're probably up to that at this point, I ended up coloring the skin and finding a blending brush that I really liked, and so I was able to blend out the skin. I kind of realized throughout this drawing that like those mid values are super important. I was actually so proud of the skin too and the way I did the blushing and the shading and everything because I have never taken on like, especially in digital art, something of that style or just like that general like vibe. Like I've never done skin like that before. And also, Toga's skin is really pale, and I wanted to make it even paler because in the scene, spoilers, she is losing blood. Like, she's giving her blood to Uraraka, so I wanted to make her skin even more pale than in the photo, especially in, like, the blush of the cheeks I felt like was too dark in the original manga version because she is losing blood. Her cheeks, I feel like, now I could be wrong about this, but logically wouldn't be that dark. So I did actually lighten it a little bit. And I went with a lot more blue and purpley colors to kind of like in the shadows to really like push that, like blood loss sort of scenario. I love just how I colored the face, the eyes, and everything like that. And it was really good. I like the bright red that Toga has for her eyes as well. It has a lot of like, I feel like gives a lot of life to the photo. Eyes are one of the things I love drawing the most, and I think with this sort of like bright red that she naturally has, and having that really shown in the photo was really great. In the reference I was using, her eyes were pretty squinted, so I couldn't actually physically see like too much of what they were supposed to look like, but I kind of just like played with it in my own way because I wanted her to have wider eyes. It's just also my art style. Like I draw really wide eyes. I don't really draw squinty eyes like that. So I think it just kind of worked with my art style much more and trying to turn it into that manga style. Finally, a couple other things that I was really happy about was the clothes rendering. The shading for that was pretty difficult, so it took me a couple tries. You can kind of see that was one of the longest things I had near the end of the drawing was shading those clothes and getting everything kind of right where I wanted it. Because Uraraka's clothes design, which is what Toga ends up in when she's like essentially dying, which by the way I think is so poetic, but I'll get into the intricacies of what I think about an episode like that later in a different video probably. But the outfit is kind of also like melting off of Toga, or not melting off, but it's very ripped and torn, and it's like it's getting worn down while it's on Toga because Toga is losing the blood that makes her able to transform into this outfit. So I mean, she ends up like, you know, she ends up losing it eventually, and it's kind of like at this point where this specific image is shown, it's like she's slowly saving Uraraka's life, so the outfit is kind of a mess. um and so I wanted to get that with the collar, especially I tried to like tear the collar a little bit in my own way of doing it. And I also had to edit a lot of the line art as well with the clothing because I felt like some of it wasn't super working the way I had thought it would initially when I was doing the photo. So I had to take some stuff out. of the line art specifically and clean some edges up and whatever. But I think it ended up really good though. It feels very 3D. The background definitely makes it lose that 3D element, but I feel like it feels almost like 2.5D. Like it's obviously not 3D. There's a pretty heavy line art. I just do things with heavy line art. I don't think I'm ever gonna lose that. Like I don't know. I even use line art to like detail the hair and stuff, so I don't think I'm ever gonna lose the heavy line art thing. Even when I do traditional art, it's very heavy line art, so I don't think I'm ever gonna lose that. But I do just love the general like aesthetic that I gave it, and I think it does look pretty 3D. Her booba area, because I love the intense shading it had in the original photo. So I was trying in my own way to mimic that, but the blending technique I was using was just not working, because the thing about Krita, which is the software I use, is it can be very finicky with certain things you decide to do. It's not finicky all the time, but sometimes it just likes to give you a hard time with stuff, and blending is one of those things that it decides to give you a hard time with, which is why I try to come up with my own ways of blending shadows and lights and not physically like rendering them in color, because it can be hard. And also another reason why I do a lot of cell shading in my like digital art, because it's just the easiest way to shade in Krita. Like rendering in Krita is hard, I feel like, just cuz the blending is atrocious. But yeah, this was my drawing of Toga. I hope you enjoyed it. I also hope you enjoyed my commentary. I hope you guys like this moving forward. If you do, let me know what you think in the comments about the commentary. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all of those things that I have to ask you to do. We just hit 150 subscribers on YouTube, which is crazy to me, because I have been grinding recently, especially in October. So we went from like 110 to 150 in a month and a half, which like for me on other platforms isn't that baffling, but on YouTube is baffling to me. Because I think I'm finally starting to get how this whole YouTube thing works. I don't know. Sometimes live streaming feels easier, and sometimes YouTube feels easier. I think they're two different sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? But thank you for hanging out, and I really hope that you enjoyed my work and my art and this commentary. Yeah, I hope you have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, or night, and goodbye!